That is unfortunately the weight loss, weight health journey that tens of millions of Americans go on. Most of the time when somebody comes to Omada, they have probably tried 20, 30 different dietary strategies just to manage their weight. And we've got to make sure and stop that.
Try to fix the current system or reimagine something new? Will healthcare ever serve consumers just like me and you? The power's in our hands, but every side's gotta come together. We want the newer generations to get something better. Until we flip the script and talk about what gets prevented. Until we see the changes permanent as if we meant it. Until healthcare is finally consumer-centered. We've got a lot to rap about.
Welcome back to the leading podcast about consumer-centered health. This is more than a show, this is a mission, y'all. As builders and operators, we're here to share with you the latest consumer-centered ways that healthcare is being designed, marketed, and delivered. And as consumers yourselves, we want you to understand how these options work and why they might be right for you and your loved ones. Here's what's going down today. First up, we have the Flava of the Week comparing funding trends from Rock Health and Fitt Insider's latest reports. Where are checks being written for digital health, and what parallels are we seeing in the greater wellness landscape? I'll talk about that. Then Wei-Li Shao joins us again to talk about Omada Health's IPO, the rapidly evolving landscape of GLP-1 therapies, market complexities associated with AI-driven innovation, and what it all tells us about consumer behaviors. I'm Jared Johnson. Let's get it. Flava of the Week. I'm seeing parallel funding trends in wellness and digital health as I compare two recent reports and look at how the two sides of the economy are converging. Rock Health released their Q1 funding overview for digital health, while Fitt Insider's State of Health and Wellness 2026 report tracks capital deployment and category growth shaping the wellness economy. Here are three clear trends between the two reports that show where the signals have the greatest overlaps. Number one, the checks are bigger but more concentrated and fewer proven winners. Rock Health emphasized capital concentration, meaning fewer deals, larger checks, and more funding going to companies with traction and clear ROI. Total digital health funding reached $4 billion across 110 deals, a whole billion higher than this time last year, while the average deal size climbed to over $36 million, the highest average since peak pandemic in 2021. Fitt Insider, meanwhile, confirmed the same thing happening in the wellness space, with funding concentrating in business demonstrating unit economics, pointing out major acquisitions and large raises such as Aura and New Limit. Number two, the shift towards integrated full-stack care models. The market's favoring integrated models that own more of the experience, including full-stack wellness offerings, care delivery, diagnostics, data, and engagement that are all connected. This means the winners are those that own more of the patient journey with increasing LTVs through bundled services and ecosystems. Or in other words, we're seeing the platformization of health and wellness. Number three, AI and data are moving from hype to expectation. In a surprise to no one, AI-enabled companies are now attracting funding only when tied to measurable ROI. This includes AI embedded in virtual care platforms, personal health OS and unified data layers, and AI-driven food, diagnostics, and decision tools. So the tone about AI has changed. The companies breaking through are using it to improve clinical outcomes, reduce cost of care, and automate real workflows. What's the consumer lens? The front door of healthcare is being rebuilt, driven by the continued convergence of healthcare and preventive offerings. For founders, the market's clearly shifting to prove it, integrate it, and scale it. Companies that solve real problems, integrate across the journey, and prove value early are being rewarded at a record pace. And that's good news for consumers, who will be the ultimate winners as they'll continue to see progress with solutions that are making healthcare preventive, personalized, and truly connected. Let's follow the money as we watch how funding trends are rewarding integrated platform plays in the space, and how consumers will benefit as a result. That's another way that we'll build the healthcare of tomorrow, and that's the Flava of the Week. All right, everyone, let's get into the flow. We're back with Wei-Li Shao, president of Omada Health, and just excited to dig in today. Wei-Li, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Zane. Thanks, Jared. It's been about a year, but man, what has happened in a year has just been like cosmic and astronomical. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to catching up.
And I think this is the third time around the show, if my memory serves me correctly, right, Jared?
That's correct. Yeah, and the last time was at Vive a little over a year ago, and you're both correct. That seems like ages ago.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I'm privileged to be a repeat member here. So thanks, guys.
for sure. It's kind of like the Five Timers Club with Saturday Night Live. I mean, they do a whole sketch when you get to that point, and Three Timers. It's an exclusive club, Wei-Li. So yeah, fantastic. I think, just for the sake of how much we have to talk about, we can just kind of dig right in here. Folks can check out those other couple of previous episodes that we've had with you. But Omada, safe to say, so much going on. Maybe we can just dig right in on this first piece. I think if we just talk about the complexity in general of the current GLP-1 market, it's one of the fastest changing things as far as what I'm paying attention to in healthcare. And I just know a lot has happened in the last few weeks even. Maybe we can even just talk about like what go-to-market models are making headlines. What do employers and patients even need to be thinking about? Let's just start with there. Like, where's the market right now?
Man, you have asked the literally multi tens of billion-dollar question right there, Jared. I mean, a lot has happened. You've asked a number of big questions underneath the biggest question. So, what's happening in the marketplace right now? Super exciting, of course. No specific order. You've got new formulations coming in, different efficacy profiles, different administration profiles. That's providing a tremendous amount of choice into the marketplace. I also think it creates a little bit of complexity, like who should be using which. If you fail on one or have suboptimal results on another, will you get better or have better effectiveness on another? Biologically, it's possible. And then, is there a sequence in which you should use these things? And so, the pace of new formulations, new administration routes, is creating a choice, but also clinical complexity. So that's one. Number two, of course, is there's still what I call price and access dislocation. You've got GLP-1s through Medicare and the Trump negotiation bringing it down as low as $245. You've got special entry points through DTC at $145 that then escalate to $350. You've got now subscription options that you have to get into to get a lower price. And then, of course, you've got what PBMs are negotiating as well. And so you've got significant price dislocation, something as low as $150, $200 to even $500, $600 through another channel. And that also is, of course, is resulting in different layers of access. And so you've got this battle between the channels. Nobody knows which one's going to win. I'm sure we're going to get into that. That's a big part. And then the third, of course, is what has emerged from that are a number of different access benefit solution options. I like to say that as far as it goes for GLP-1s in terms of benefit solutions for employers administered by health plans or PBMs, man, we're going to see a massive proliferation in options because there's not a benefit design product market fit yet that
Oh,
addresses all of the things that are very, very unique about this marketplace. So things have evolved. Some things have come into clarity, but the size and magnitude of the change multiplied the interest in innovation in this space is making it a hairier, more complex space.
I'll go back to one thing you said there, channels. I assume we're talking the direct to consumer side, the PBM side, the direct to employer side. I think you mentioned them each. Is that kind of what you're referring to? Like, there's so many ways to get these medications.
Yeah, that's right. There are so many ways to get it, and that's part of the interlocking and interweaving component that has been very, very challenging in the GLP-1 marketplace because it plays into pricing dislocation, it plays into clinical expertise, clinical oversight. There's so many confluencing factors that are coming together into one particular space and time. And so on one hand, you've got continuing to perform scaled direct to consumer channel. I've seen statistics that show that it comprises anywhere from 20 to 35% of all the GLP-1 prescriptions going on through the US. And then you've got the PBM marketplace, which does its classic kind of legacy ecosystem access. I do think employers still prefer that because it's their motion. They're negotiating thousands of other drugs every year through their PBM, and boy, they would love to get access affordably through that channel. And so you've got PBMs innovating in the access space. I don't know if I would say in competition with direct to consumer, but it feels that way because, again, the price dislocations occurring between those two channels. So you've got that aspect going on too as well. And then the last bit is in Q4 last year, we saw a rapid surge in what they call direct to employer cash pay models, which basically tries to marry up various parts of the direct to consumer kind of go to market as well as an employer classic go to market as it relates to creating access to affordability for drugs. And so that space is rapidly proliferating. We'll have to see through this selling cycle what ends up.
Amazing. Well, let's add a couple of complexity layers here. Let's talk about oral GLP-1s. For those who haven't been keeping score, like what's available now? I mean, new options have just been added to the market like in the last few days.
Yeah, absolutely right. Orforglipron was approved, and that's now on the marketplace. You can now get it, just like you can the Wegovy pill, and then you've got the injections. And of course, in the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to have other formulations and other compounds coming from different pharmaceutical companies. And of course, there's on the cusp as well, maybe in a year or two, retatrutide by Lilly. People are excited about that multimodal mechanism of action. Some of the data look promising there. So yeah, it'll be an exciting space. I think the real question in my mind, of course, is how does the patient population segment out of that, at least clinically, right? There's a lot of talk right now about using orals as a ramp to injection or injection as a down ramp for maintenance to an oral. That makes sense. Studies are suggesting that you can get weight maintenance through that too as well, the long term. So that looks promising. But I think the jury's still out, because the weight loss journey, as we find at Omada, I mean, we've just crossed the 2 million all time enrolled mark. We've got over last year, over 150,000 people specifically in our GLP-1 care track. And the reason I bring that up at scale, we see as much diversity in goal, how they want to engage with GLP-1s, the experience and the journey they're on, the help they need. And so these different formulations come on. That's the clinical complexity I was talking about that providers like Omada and others need to step in and make sure the return on investment and the outcomes and the goals that patients want out of these incredibly disruptive technologies actually stick.
But sounds like, I mean, you kind of got there in your question. It sounds like given all the complexity, the market is in desperate need, or the average consumer is in desperate need of a coach and a partner to help them through this, to make sure that they're using these drugs, whether it be injectable or oral, correctly to actually achieve their goals. Is that what you're kind of saying here?
Yeah, we are seeing that, Zane. There's data we'll be releasing soon. I'll tip my hand a little bit to it. Is that even today, when you talk to patients, we conducted a well over 2,000 patient survey. Again, data coming out soon. But the top line results really showed that 40 to 50% of them still feel like obesity is stigmatized and they're being judged by their provider. Over two-thirds of them, you know, go on a GLP-1, they are desiring a health coach experience or a companion along that experience because it's not just about losing weight, it's about getting weight healthy for the long term. And in fact, when you pair these two things together, both the companion lifestyle program, we call it our GLP-1 Care Track, plus the GLP-1, you get amplified weight loss. You actually get greater persistence, literally by almost 50% at 12 months. And then if you decide as a patient with your provider to go off of a GLP-1, most of the time at 12 months, you've gained 11 to 12% of your body weight back. But when you had the right lifestyle support after GLP-1, that weight regain we've seen to be between 0 and 1% at 12 months. Talk about a value proposition. You're right. I mean, it's a huge wow. People just didn't think that was possible. But the value proposition of again, a return on investment and a return on health. I mean, think about the invested time a patient goes through, and then also the reduction in waste, right? Think about spending thousands of dollars per year in a GLP-1 only to gain all the weight back 12 to 24 months later, and you end up yo-yoing.
And I would, you know, from the patient's perspective, Whaley, like if I was in that situation where I gained it all back, suddenly I'd probably have like some behavioral health issues where I'd feel like very, maybe embarrassed, maybe depressed. Like I just told my whole family I lost all this weight. Maybe I looked good for a season. I fit into those clothes I wanted. And now here I am back where I started. And so I think there's a huge value just to the consumer that they can maintain this and
That's
maintain
right.
their life
That's right, Zane, and I appreciate you sharing that. But that is unfortunately the weight loss, weight health kind of journey that tens of millions of Americans go on. Most of the time when somebody comes to Omada, they have probably tried 20, 30 different dietary strategies just to manage their weight. And we've got to make sure and stop that. And I think there's just a huge opportunity there marrying drug plus behavior change. We're seeing stellar results, and we think that's promising.
of it. Love it. Love to hear it.
Yeah, you really are fighting a lot of, to your point, of just not necessarily misinformation. I believe there's a lot of still good intention information, or information that's just based on a single person's experience,
That's
but then
right.
that just goes through the grapevine, and and everyone loves offering their advice, or what here's what I've heard. And so you're
That's right.
still just trying to understand like how to convey the good news, like that 0 to 1% figure, for instance, like that it's possible. People need to hear that. Like people do need to hear, like, I'm scared to, I don't want to take this first step on a journey here because I've heard that I just gained it all back. So I feel like more than a lot of even other healthcare and health and wellness opportunities and journeys that we go on, the need for just this constant up to date figure. Evidence shows, here's what we're learning. The ability to, to ask someone like yourself of like, what are we actually seeing here? What's possible? That story we can always tell even more, right? And help balance out just the, again, I don't think information, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little naive about it. Maybe I don't know why people would intentionally share a lot of, incorrect information, but maybe we just don't understand the context of what it was shared. And I don't know. It's definitely what I see a lot myself online, of like, well, this is what I heard. And it's just quick and easy to say, well, yeah, let's actually look at what's actually happening.
Yeah, I think you're raising two important and interlocking pieces, right? So when you look at the weight loss journey, especially with GLP-1s, if I'm somebody who is obese or clinically obese and I'm right for a GLP-1, work with a clinical prescriber, healthcare professional, I'm cautiously optimistic, maybe for the first time, because I know friends, people in my circle that have been on them, have lost a lot of weight, and I've seen it. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Will this work for me? So that's a bit of a journey of itself. Then you actually get it, and then there's like, gosh, how can I afford it? That's a stress moment. And then once you start getting on it, there's this. We see this in thousands of members, this tug and pull emotional journey in the beginning, because you're starting to see weight loss happen and it's almost feel magical. So you have this little glimmer of hope, but then the side effects creep in and you're like, how do I manage this? And it's a stress. It's like, I don't want to go off. I want to get through this, but I'm losing weight and but I'm feeling horrible. That's the first part of the journey that I think, a companion lifestyle program can help. Then once all that gets stabilized, you start titrating, you're fine, you're getting used to it. Then you start losing weight, but sometimes you lose too much weight or you're losing the wrong kind of weight, which is your muscle mass, right? You lose 30 to 40% of your lean mass. And again, that's when you need the companion lifestyle support. You need a coach, a care team, you need AI-enabled services to say, hey, listen, let's change your diet or modify it so you increase number one, more protein. Number two, how can we begin at the right time, getting you more active to actually increase your lean mass or preserve your lean muscle mass? And in fact, we've got data coming out soon that is going to speak exactly to that, what body composition looks like in combination with a companion lifestyle program. And it's going to be exciting. And then lastly, it's like this, oh my gosh, I've reached my target weight. Do I need to stay on it forever? Maybe I should try to go off, but I know my friends have gained all the weight back. There's a huge stress and anxiety moment there, especially when you're trying to balance the pocketbook and the checkbook. And so it is a huge emotional journey that, if we help people navigate it, it can be incredibly helpful and promising. The second interlocking piece really is about, you can imagine the clinical supervision that you need between kind of your doctor visits, which is what we're talking about. that oftentimes many digital healthcare providers either don't provide robustly, and or don't have the clinical evidence to suggest that what they're providing actually works. And this gets to, Jared, what you're talking about a little earlier, at least the way I interpreted it is that then it becomes a little bit of what I saw on social media. Is that accurate? Or what I did in my ChatGPT search or on Google, and they start searching about like something that can help their experience. And oftentimes 50% of the time the information is good, 50% of the time maybe it's not good for them. And we really need this bona fide, clinically driven kind of in between visit care on this GLP-1 journey, so that people can just really go for the long term weight health as opposed to short term weight loss.
Wei-Li, I want to give you a chance to share some of the news, some highlights from your Q4 earnings, and also, I mean, I think I'm just realizing that that's probably the first time we have chatted with you since Omada had its
I think
IPO.
so.
So, like, how's it going?
Big news,
Yeah.
big
Yeah, we're incredibly pleased. We closed out 2026, really strong, over 50%, member growth, revenue growth. We had a really, really nice year. We had our first, kind of profitable fourth quarter, as well as a profitable EBITDA profitable for the entire year. We beat, Wall Street expectations and forecast by an entire year. And so we're really feeling the momentum. Some of it's driven by GLP-1s, of course, but equally driven by growth across our cardiometabolic non GLP-1 profile. What we're seeing is it's basically, cardiometabolic is just front of mind, and certainly GLP-1s is a huge part of that, but it's actually a gateway to talk about the 80% of the population that needs help in the cardiometabolic space, diabetes, weight, hypertension, cholesterol, so on and so forth, that are not on GLP-1s. And so we've just seen this all tides rising effect on our business. And we're entering this year with a ton of confidence and a ton of momentum too as well. And what that's enabled us to do is double down and reinvest in our business. We launched and announced our GLP-1 prescribing capability, which is basically going to fit perfectly like a puzzle piece with our GLP-1 companion support program. We announced and launched our cholesterol program,
We're just gonna
which is just another interlocking puzzle piece into the cardiometabolic profile. We are going to be launching a new look and feel to kind of the home screen to our application, just to highlight some new features and functions. We've improved, and we're now on version 3 of our nutritional intelligence kind of agentic experience. And so we're really just gaining momentum in the marketplace, and we're super pleased with the results.
anything else that has bubbled up or that you've learned about consumer insights? As you think about the next journey of Omada and things that you've accomplished over the last year, anything else like bubble up or surprise you in terms of what you've noticed about health consumer behavior?
I think it's a great question. I think it is, gosh, is it boring to say more of the same, but it feels radically different? And what I mean by that is, last time we spoke, I think consumers' use of ChatGPT or any AI model was in the category of novelty.
Yeah.
And
Edit
I think,
document or something.
what's that?
Like just use it to like edit this document or write me an email.
Yeah, edit this document or be like, what was that rare bird that I saw? Or, it's like just kind of novelty, kind of, wow, this is so cool kind of experience. Fast forward a year now, and, in almost every consumer application you're using, and probably close to 50% of all the call centers you're talking to have some sort of agentic experience. And if you think about also, if you go in, if you've tried like the Google reservations, like restaurant reservations, it's basically all agentic, and the agent calls the restaurant. And so the hostess, or the host or the maitre d' is actually talking to an agent, and they're getting bombarded by agents. And so just the resident penetration of agentic experiences is just really taking off. And we caught that wave early on with our nutritional intelligence kind of agent experience. And we're seeing that take off and get comfortable with our membership, because that took some time, but now it's really kind of on that asymptote on the way up. And we'll be publishing results on utilization, engagement, and outcomes impact. So that's one. The second one, I think, is going to impact consumer experiences big time around AI. And that's as organizations really now are bringing in with confidence, in with purpose and intent, full agentic kind of experiences into their operations. Last year, there's all those studies that say 90+% of all corporate, whatever efforts in AI didn't pay off or cost more or whatever. We've seen those studies. I don't think that's going to be the case in 2026. I think the technology is finally to a point where you can multi serially task complex enterprise tasks and solutions. And what that's going to turn into is essentially better, faster, more personalized interaction with consumers. And so I think by Q1 of 2027, we're going to see a raft of really sophisticated AI experiences that I think consumers are going to love. And certainly by the end of 2027, we will have reached that stage. The last bit, of course, is, early last year, AI voice technology, was something to be made fun of. I think that this year, AI voice technology has finally reached this critical mass or critical technical threshold where it can get pretty darn close, if not even better than a human to human interaction. And we're looking forward to deploying that and looking into that too as well at scale. And so I think all of that consumerization is just gonna really accelerate even more if we can imagine what that might feel like. And so yeah, we're excited. I've spoken a ton about AI, but there's certain other things related in the healthcare sector that relate to consumer behavior.
I mean, I think it's the obvious big one, and Jared and I and other guests have been chatting about similar things. And I think what excites me the most now is consumers have the tools to just understand their health, right? And truly now consumers can truly be engaged and in some ways go toe to toe with their provider with questions and potential treatment options. And so I think it's a whole new world for all of us.
It really is. It really is. We're super excited about it.
Last question, Wei-Li. What else? What advice do you have for other builders and operators in the space? Either at partner organizations or just other organizations who are in this space who are trying to better understand how to use these technologies to do the same thing to make healthcare more available and more understandable for consumers. That's at the end of the day what this is all about: is helping make a health and wellness journey more
Yeah,
understandable, more relatable.
that's right.
What else do builders and operators have to have to look forward to?
I think it's really the stage you're at, but I think without getting into the details of what stage are you building and developing your organization, I think there's a few things, especially as it relates to technology, and I've been thinking about these a lot. The first one is sounds super technical, but I think it's one of the most important things right now is to build your organization in native AI way. 3 years ago, we probably would have said we had one of the most modern tech stacks in the entire industry. Now that tech stack has to be re-engineered and redeveloped and massaged to be truly AI native because the technical environment has changed. So I think that's number one. And if you're a company and you're not making those investments right now, I think it's going to be table stakes. And if you don't, then I think the outcome is going to be pretty poor for you. I think the second one is the people side of it, which is you've got to really spend time not only recruiting and interviewing and sieving through the right kinds of people with the right technology mindset. It was pretty easy for us to do 2 3 years ago because there are people there are lots of tech people out there, quote unquote, but now it's like, are they truly leveraging technology in the right way? 2 years ago, if we would have really were worked really hard on, or a year ago even, in kind of thinking about, of the engineers, software engineers we're hiring, what was your sophistication of facility with, Copilot or Cursor or AI kind of, tools to code. I think, we were surprised how many didn't adopt, and it was a human thing. It wasn't a technology ability thing; it was a human thing. So I think there's training, classic organizational change management that if you're executing well against, your chances of winning in the marketplace are really good. I think the last one is related to this piece of deliberate and focused strategic investment at scale that feels different now with technology and with the pace of healthcare. Healthcare is moving faster. slower than most other industries, but it is moving faster, and we like that. There are so many things you can do with technology now. It almost is you run the risk of the undisciplined pursuit of more. Um, and the ability to really focus in a laser like way, big investment scale, because the path to creating true member and human experiences that are authentic and feel real with technology is much harder than what people think. And then deploying it in a way that it not only feels that way, but helps you and your members, in our cases, achieve their goals is much harder than what people think. And it requires iterative, scaled investments over time. And that's what we're finding. And so people can create a pretty intoxicating kind of a Christmas ornament to make it look all glitz and glam and get people interested. But then when you deploy, there's going to be, if we understand Omada, there's going to be a clinical trial that you're going to execute on this. And so you've got to really technologically iterate with big scale investments over the long term to make sure you nail it. Because I think over the next couple of years or so, as the data comes out, I think that's where a lot of companies will succeed or fail.
Fantastic as always, Wei-Li. Thanks for giving us the time, and let's keep
You
doing
bet.
this. Anytime you want to hop on the program, we'll make do. We'd love it.
I always feel so enlightened after we talk to you. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys giving me the time and space and putting up with all my ranting and raving. But I'm super passionate about what's happening in healthcare, and I just can't imagine it not being anywhere else, and especially here on your podcast. So thanks for having me back again.